me developing my album cover idea, right? I created this idea because I really like the squeal thing and I wanted to progress the digital stencil idea, which I'd realised. I wanted to interact this with font like Owen and Paula. Not Owen and Paula, Saul and Paula. So I wanted to use the composition of the vinyl alongside the font, have them interact with each other like a Paula, and kind of bit of the imagery on the album cover would relate to Saul. Okay, so what I wanted to do here was describe the urban sounds, taking influence from those artists and also using the styles, using the techniques I'd experimented with and found helpful and useful and relevant. So that's what I did, right? Font needed to be kind of dirty, rough, of course, for these sounds. Well, depending on these different sounds, some of them are like sharp and squeaky. Anyway, composition, yeah, that's what I said. Media, how can the words interact with the image, all right? The image being a vinyl. I wanted the words needed to fit inside this circle, okay? Stencil digital idea, which is what I pursued and what I did. So I started off like we did in the beginning, listening to the soundtrack, and I was putting just making the little marks which I heard, with kind of portraying the sounds visually with my pen and pencil. You see just the sharpness or the swoopiness, the sirens, the coarse the coarse buzz, the buzz, the jagged edges, the metallic kind of harshness. You got the that's not supposed to be the key turning. That's the buzzing out. What else is there? The motor. You got the roughness, the coarseness, kind of graininess from the motor. Yeah, all of that. You know, very fun. Trying to put the sound into the font, because it's all about font, because this is my graphic design pathway. Right, here's the final pieces which I decided to use and I was going to put into my album cover. So you just have a look at that. Pretty skillful, I know. This is described. You can see what it is trying to describe. So this is just one cool thing I made which I'd like to special mention. I made that on Photoshop and it's something that I thought was really cool. Maybe in a future project I could do something like it. It didn't work out for the rest of this project, but I thought it was really cool like that. I'll leave that in for you to have a look at. But this is my album cover design. You can see I've got all of this, that comes from that, B comes from B, S from S. What I did it like the squeal and the squeak online, but just better. I plugged it into Photoshop, neatened it up, turned it black and white, put it on a vinyl, and then put all these 6 vinyls together. It looks a lot easier than it was, it took me a day. But I think it looks really good. Hopefully it will be online tomorrow. I don't know if it will be there. But yeah, I think it works really well. This was influenced by Paula Shirt and Saul Bass, and it was influenced from my previous work, which has been developed into this, right? So, yep, that's research and development for you. Okay, that's good as well. The heavy door slam, you know. Okay. Concertina. This is when I got to start thinking about my concertina. Yeah, so I was just thinking about what I'm going to do with my concertina. Exploring some different ideas here, didn't work out, but these ideas I've got down, it's all stuff I can look back to in future projects because they were all good ideas. Yeah, right, I had a problem, yeah, here. It's 9, yeah, problem number one. The album cover, the scan isn't good enough for photo. I have no idea what I was on about there. Yeah. Okay, that's why. So here you've got all my stuff. This is for my concertina. The 9 pages of my concertina, the main final piece, the front final piece. Alright? So what I was considering when I was making these pages: line, shape, thickness, composition, opacity, sharpness, and spacing. The spacing of all these alongside the font and the imagery. You know, how the font interacts with the page, the composition, how the font interacts with the imagery, how the font depicts the sounds and how the imagery depicts the sounds. You've got patterns from before. You've got the whoopiness of the siren from before, which I found very helpful. Patterns here. You've got font interacting with the stairway. You know, you've got the letters interacting with the page here. I think that's really clever actually. It says click if you read closely, and the letters kind of interact with each other to create this kind of satisfying thing which fits in together. I really like it. Annoying button. This is a lot like Saul Bass, and both of them. But the font actually looks like Saul Bass's, and yeah, and Owen as well because it's got the little triangle things around the outside, which I thought helped exaggerate this kind of sharp beep sound, and you know, the repetitiveness of this was a bit like a pattern which was influenced from Owen's work. Very helpful, very cool stuff. So yeah, you can just have a look at all this. Very good. My experiments. Yeah, so this developed from Squeak Squeal. The final piece is a stencil, which is then put into Photoshop, neatened up, and then printed out. The way my experiments developed this was that I used the rough thread from before, which I told you about, the rough thread, the coarseness of it, to describe the motor sound. That's how my experiments link in with this, and obviously Paula and Saul kind of with the font, but my experiments as well, the black PVA glue, the staples holding it down, I think really helped with that kind of metallic rumble. The black PVA with it, just good to hold it down, practical, but also adds an extra texture to it. Here, the tinfoil, really helpful with the siren, really helpful with that piercing sound. The ink and the bleach, with the rain kind of cutting through, really puts you in that image of kind of the screaming siren kind of racing past you and the pouring rain, the rain on your roof, all that. Well, it hasn't actually got rain in the soundtrack, but that I kind of got carried away with it. It looks really good. This stencil cutout using the plastic from. Using this plastic, I thought it would work well because it's quite manufactured and man-made. Plasticky would help convey that sound. This metallic, I thought this was cool, so I used that to help to portray that sharp, jagged, metallic buzz, kind of harsh and heavy. So I used that here. Saul Bass, clearly. Paula as well. 3D reliefs, like before. 3D reliefs like my 3D, you know what I'm talking about. That really helped. You know, that was actually a turning point because it was going to be a flat concertina, which I'll talk about later. I thought, it would be a lot more interesting if I can have this coming off the page, give you the full experience of really walking up the stairs, and it also helps you have those shadows, and having those shadows really accentuates that kind of dull, matte kind of boop, boop, boop up the stairs. got that kind of little bit of weight behind it from the shadows. Really effective, really helpful. That is pure development right there, so that's good. Here, slam, that's photogram. No, it's not. It's a cutout. Yes, it is a photogram. It's a cutout, stencil, and then put on acetate, and then stencil scanned onto acetate, and then made into a photogram. Very heavy, black and white. 9-button, I've done that one before. The Ratto, also 3D relief, also got those shadows, but also using the plastic, which I've just shown you, helps create that kind of flimsy kind of rattle texture. It portrays that sound which you will hear. The beep here. What did this come from? The photo when I did the usual. When I did the usual kind of poster page thing with the cyanotypes and the photograms, me using my finger, I took a picture of my finger and stuck it into Photoshop for this one. That was a little experiment from back then.